like. People, Deluded, I'm back again. I hope everyone's doing well and safe. As you know, I've got a special guest. She's been here before. Jess, what are you saying, man? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Not so much when you consider the results, but I'm sure we're going to get into it. But generally, I'm doing safe. I want to jump straight back into it because I know you're pressed for time. Now, the last time we spoke, I won't say Arsenal was in the great of place, but we was probably a lot more optimistic. We've taken 2 back-to-back defeats. Before we get into Brighton, how did you feel about the Crystal Palace game at Selhurst Park? Because it's fair to say it was a mess.
It was kind of shocking. I mean, I think I assumed that a loss was coming because we had been doing so well. And I thought the loss was actually going to come against Aston Villa. And so there was something coming. We weren't going to win every single game. So there was going to be a shock result somewhere in there. And then so for Crystal Palace to be the one, it was like, okay, well, you can kind of take that. But if you just look at the result, maybe you could justify it. But actually watching the match, you're like, oh, wow, like we were really, really bad. And I think a lot of us gave them a pass because it was like, okay, right off of international break, lost Tierney, Crystal Palace played very well and will rebound against Brighton. And that's what I was thinking, because I thought the Crystal Palace one was a little bit like, maybe they're just off or tired, but for it to carry on into the Brighton match, it's like, oh, we might be in trouble, so that's kind of my thoughts. I thought Vieira did a really good job. I was worried that maybe we'd been found out. He did a really good job nullifying Saka and Odegaard and Thomas Partey. And if those 3 players aren't able to get on the ball, then we can't score goals. And of course, Lacazette had another disaster class. He was just like,
we're going to get into him. Don't worry.
Yeah, I won't go too far because I know we'll talk about it. And the left-hand side just was unavailable. So it's difficult. Nuno Tavares as well. Like he's just somebody that I feel like you have to use him in his best way in order to get the best out of him. And
what would that be for you? For someone who wouldn't know what you're referring to, what would that be in terms of using Tavares in the best way?
He's basically a wing back. Like he's the type of player that's better going forward. He's more of a winger than a fullback. And he was never going to be really good because Tierney even struggles to play in that role in the way that Arteta's making the left back play now without Tomiyasu on the right. So I just don't understand why we didn't try to play Nuno to the best of his abilities. And I feel bad for him because he hasn't had the easiest time at Arsenal so far, but I think Arteta has to take some of that blame as well. So those are kind of my thoughts on the Crystal Palace game. It was just, there were also opportunities to come back into that game. I think there's some players that have blood on their hands, Odegaard and ESR in particular. So yeah, we're struggling, and that Crystal Palace game was kind of a shock.
What have you made of the last 2 games in relation to Smith Rowe and Odegaard? Because they've been off the boil a bit, and I know fans are always trying to pick them together. I just think we've got 2 quality players now. For me, in the last couple of games, they've been missing. Smith Rowe looks a bit rusty with his finishing. Odegaard, before the international break, was coming off the pace, and he's kind of on a bit of a come down. What do you feel about our playmakers?
I think Odegaard struggles right off of the back of international breaks. I don't know why that happens. But whenever he comes back up an international break, it takes him some time to get back in. And his form right now reminds me of when he was out of the team. There was a period of time earlier in the season where he couldn't even get into the team because he just wasn't, his touch was bad. He wasn't getting on the ball. When he lost it, he wasn't tracking back. And he's kind of went back into that. And I'm not sure why. And I think also he's been found out. I think we've been heavily scouted. That right-hand side has been sussed. And so he needs to find a different way of imposing himself on the match. But equally, that doesn't mean that Arteta needs to put him in midfield as some sort of pivot / number 10 / number 8. Like he wasn't set up correctly either. And ESR, like I have this thing with Smith Rowe where it's kind of like, I don't understand what his position is, and I don't think he does either. and he doesn't look like he's 100%. He may be carrying an injury. I think a lot of these players might be carrying injuries because we've been playing the same 12 players for the entire season. So I wouldn't be surprised if he was suffering a little bit. That being said, if we just assume that he's fine, I don't think I loved his body language against Brighton. I thought he just looked like he just couldn't be asked, and that's frustrating. He's gotten opportunities to score goals, not putting them away. And so he's frustrating me, but he's not a left 8 now. He could be in the future, but that's not his position. So he's suffered again from, I can blame them for the body language and maybe not being energetic or whatever, but if they're put in positions where they can't be successful, how much can I really put on them?
You mentioned squad depth, and obviously I haven't had a chance to ask you. I know the obvious is obviously, you know, it's a big blow, but what have you made of Kieran Tierney and Thomas Partey's injury? In particular, Tierney, do you think it's time to look for a new left back? Because I'm Tierney FC. I'll defend him from till the cows come home. I'll always defend Tierney. The only problem I have with Tierney is sometimes he's not available. I do think sometimes his injuries has been down to just football, just contact sports, but there's an air of non-reliability with him not being there. And we spoke about Tavares, as we both know, he's very raw and rough around the edges. I just feel there's not enough quality in depth. So for me personally, I feel I would like to look for a left back that can compete / start ahead of Tierney, maybe Tavares going on loan. So what have you made of Thomas Partey and Tierney's injuries?
It's hard because Kieran Tierney and Thomas Partey are my 2 favorite players. So
facts.
And I think that there are 2 most important players in a lot of ways beyond, like, it's really for me, Tierney, Thomas Partey, and Bukayo Saka. Like, without those players, I just think we'll crumble. And I also don't want to see the day where Ben White doesn't play. I think he's also really important.
You and me both.
Yeah. And it's like, it's hard for me to criticize those 2 because I just feel like whenever the fan base gets on Thomas Partey or Kieran Tierney, I'm very defensive because I don't really understand how you can look at those 2 players and not understand the importance and how difficult their roles are in this team and how they still like try to give 110%. When it comes to Tierney, we bought him injured. You know, that's what we did. We bought him injured. So he is kind of like this injured guy. And he struggles because he's overburdened all the time. Whether it's for Scotland, Celtic, or Arsenal, he's meant to play every single game and there's never suitable backup. It's like they just want to play him into the ground. And I think Arsenal have had their hand in that this season. We play him until he's broken. There was times in the season where we played games where I think you could have used Tavares. And yes, we would have had to change our system ever so slightly, but we could have used Tavares to just minimize the minutes on Tierney's legs. And he was injured going into the Scotland games.
He's been carrying an injury, as you said.
He was carrying an injury. And I'm just like, we just played him until we broke him. And it sucks because I do think Tierney is important for the team. I don't think you're going to find very many left backs that have the soft factors plus the actual talent to go with it that want to play for Arsenal. He wants to be at Arsenal. He loves the club. We need to keep players like that around because we've had players in the past that have just collected checks. But we do need another left back. If Arteta is not comfortable using Tavares, we need a better quality left back that's basically a starter. And I think if you have somebody like that in the team, you can play Tierney and get the most out of him and just kind of move forward like that. I wouldn't sell Tierney. I see people saying like, sell him. I'm just like, for what? Like, why?
Disrespectful.
Exactly. So for me, we do need to bring in a left back, which sucks because we already have a big summer ahead of us, and having to buy a starting level left back is going to cut into the transfer budget. I also think we need somebody that can suitably back up Thomas Partey as well, which again will cut into the transfer budget.
Like you said, I mean, as you said, when you've got a smaller squad, you have to utilize certain players even more. And, to lose out on Tomiyasu, Tierney, and Partey on the best of days is an L. To have all three of them out, I know Tomiyasu might be back after the Southampton game, but it is a big L, and it does raise in question squad depth. It does kind of raise me to ask you, before I ask you about squad depth and about January, because I've got some questions here. We mentioned left backs. What did you make of XHAKA playing left back against Brighton? And you kind of touched on it, Nuno Tavares. I personally feel that if you did deploy him against Crystal Palace in the way you did, then XHAKA should have been slightly more withdrawn and kind of protecting Tavares. I would have thought being at home against Brighton, and definitely the way he played those eights, we've kind of trying to name an attacking lineup, and what we lose with Partey, double down in attacking sense. I felt that could have been Tavares. Now, I don't necessarily want to move Saka from that role, but I definitely think you should have moved Saka to left back before XHAKA because of the knock-on effect. The drop-off from Saka to Pepe is huge, but ain't that much. With XHAKA, we've lost a lot in midfield to go with Partey. So would you make a XHAKA playing left back in? Is it a case of, and in general, what's your Brighton thoughts on the game, man? Like, really, what happened? What went wrong, man? Let me hear everything you got to say in relation to Brighton, really.
A couple of days before the game, I put out the lineup that I thought that Arteta would put out there. And I got a lot of pushback, but it was the exact lineup that he chose for Brighton. I knew he was going to do that. Yeah, I knew he was going to do that with Lokonga, isolated and exposed with Emile Smith-Rowe and Odegaard, because he hasn't changed. He hasn't changed. And as much as Arteta has, I think, done a little bit better this season, and he deserves credit, he's still very stubborn. And when he doesn't trust players, he reverts back to this fear-based thing that he does. Putting XHAKA at left back is based on fear. And you can't overburden XHAKA with 1.5 roles, which when you do that, that's what you're asking him to do. Play left back, which is out of position for him,
still
but also
into midfield as well, yeah.
Push into midfield and help Sambi. That's how he got exposed on the first goal against Brighton. He was out of his position because he was trying to push into midfield. So I was hoping to be wrong, because we've seen this before with Arteta. This is why we got we bombed out of the Europa League last season. It was
9, yeah.
When we lost key players, he panicked, and he panicked again. And now we've dropped 3 points that we should have had. And I think the way that the team was playing, you might be able to make an argument that maybe they weren't comfortable with what he was telling them to do. Maybe they were kind of like, what are you doing? Like, why would you do this? Why would you put XHAKA out of midfield? I mean, they were scared to death to pass to Sambi. Scared to death to pass to him. They've seen how he can, I mean, there's probably 3 goals I can name like right here off the top of my head that have been because we passed it into Sambi in midfield and he's gotten picked off and boom. So I think Arteta just doubled down on weakening the team. Like, the injuries were one thing, but then he doubled down on it and
messed around with the balance, yeah.
Exactly. And I'm like, was there not an opportunity to maybe bring in Rob Holding and play Rob Holding and Ben White and Gabriel almost like a back 3, and put Tavares on the left-hand side and let him bomb forward? And I think you can only play one of Nuno or Sambi at a time. They're too raw, and especially Sambi, he's in the interior, and we know that those positions tend to be like, if you lose the ball centrally, we're done.
You're in trouble, yep.
Exactly. So I'm like, why not just play? And I know people don't want to see it, but why not just play El Neni and XHAKA and just...
I was going to ask you on that. I would have went with that.
Yeah, just have adults in the room. Like, just do that. And it's just weird, So I'm really disappointed in Arteta, to be honest. I think that he doubled down on something he didn't need to. And I wouldn't be surprised if he played the exact same lineup, because he just seems so like, this is the right thing to do. I don't trust Nuno, so I'm just going to do this. But exposing Sambi in the way that he has this season has, for me, been very disappointing. Sambi's a young, talented player, but he's too raw to be playing in midfield alone.
And in a setup like that with 2 rotating 8s, players that don't necessarily know their own roles, and then they've just switched it up. I agree. I think the midfield 3 was kind of
it really is. So I don't know what Arteta does from here, but I would not be surprised if you saw the same lineup, because in his mind, he was right.
But this is where I don't understand it, and maybe you do, because it's almost like during times earlier on in the season, he's played El Nene, or he's done the basic thing, the predictable thing. Almost like when it's your last 7 or 8 games, when, you know, your young players have been outperforming their expected goals, and they've got you to a point now. Surely this is now the time where you just bet on your experienced players. They might give you a 5 out of 10. They might not do anything amazing. That's where I think he's crippled. And I'm a bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I just think when he does things like that, that's because there's no immediate pressure necessarily to get results. What do you make of our top 4 race then? Like, would it be a failure now if we do not get top 4? How are you feeling about 4th, man, with these 6 points dropped?
Well, just to piggyback off of what you just said there about no pressure, that's exactly why we're in the situation that we're in. There's no pressure for him to finish in any particular position. He knows he's going to get a big summer again. And he can just say, I didn't have the players that I needed. I didn't have this. We had injuries. He can say the same things he's been saying for the last 2 seasons and still, like, because there's no pressure on him. Even if we don't finish in the top 6, he's not going to get sacked. So,
you reckon?
Yeah, I think this like he's at a level of comfort, him and Adu, where we just better hope they get it right, because I don't think Josh Kroenke has any idea about what's actually right and wrong right now. I don't think he could actually say, like, okay, maybe we're not moving in the right direction, because I do think Arteta can kind of just say, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that, like, this is the reason why. He's very, very safe in his job, and that's why it's okay for him to burn resources, you know, get rid of players that could have been useful, but because their personalities are imperfect for the culture, he can just let them cancel their contracts and tell them to go. He's very, very safe, and it's a problem. He should feel like if he doesn't make the top 6, he should go. Now, in regards to the top 4 race, it's done. Like, I know that's not what people want to hear, but it's gone. Like,
why is it done?
I think it's done because I don't see where the win is coming from. Like, I don't see, we really needed to get a win from Brighton. Like, it's our last easy-ish home game for a while.
And we're on the road next.
And Brighton aren't playing for anything. They weren't. I mean, if we had put any pressure on them, they would have just said, cool, we're just going to lose, because they're not
poor as well.
They have no reason to play hard, and they didn't play hard. They didn't do well. They didn't play good. We just played crap. So I think it's done, because mathematically, of course, it's still there, but this is where the inexperience of your manager comes in. And I hate to say it, but Spurs have one of the top managers in the world. He's going to get them over the line. They had their wobble, and he can get them over the line with really experienced world-class attacking players. We have Lacazette, whose mind is gone. He's basically done. We have key injuries to big players, and we have a bunch of kids and a really inexperienced manager. This is exactly when we crumbled last season. I can see it again. I just don't think we don't have it right now, and it's unfortunate, but we're not going to make the top 4. I think it's done. I think they just need to focus on not slipping into 7th. You know, it is what it is. We're not going to make it.
That's pretty damning, and I agree with you. But where I think I hope I'm wrong about top 4, but where I think we'll fall short is kind of what you said about Lacazette. It's like, it's not really a criticism of Lacazette, but you look at them, look down the road, we don't really have the talisman. I feel our young players have really done well this season, really got us to a level, and they've done well to get us into April. Now, kind of what I was saying earlier, you want your experienced players to take the lead, and now the ones that are good are actually injured. A couple of players are just arguably getting worse. What do you make of Lacazette? Because I don't know where I stand, because I do think, on one hand, Lacazette's been doing this all season. Yeah, he's playing slightly worse, but this is what Lacazette's been, and it's almost like we've dropped 6 points. Everyone now can see what's going on. Where are you at with Lacazette and your failures? Do you feel Arteta was justified in January to arguably not bring in a striker, get rid of one, and bet on Eddie Nketiah and Lacazette?
I mean, he's been bad since Wolves. Like, the only reason why we didn't talk crap about him is because he scored the winning goal. he was bad then. Like, he's been poor, like, in terms of the link-up play has slowly went away. His energy, the pressing is gone, and he's the pressing trigger. He has to trigger the press. If he doesn't do it, we don't press. And so he stopped pressing. He won't shoot. It's almost like he feels sorry for himself that he's not a great striker, so he's going to overdo it and be like, I'm just a facilitator. And when you have Odegaard in your team and Lacazette, two players that are dying to pass it to somebody else, where are you getting goals from? You know, and that's not to really, I love Odegaard, but he needs to shoot more.
Yeah, he's not
he
that
has
guy,
got to shoot more. And so it's crazy, but I think Lacazette is checked out. He's been checked out for a while. I don't know if he knows where he's going next season or what, but this is what happens when you rely on players that are out of contract. I hate it. I think it's very difficult when you're in a difficult situation, and this is why we end up giving these players like armbands and stuff like that, the captain's armband, to
give them a reason to want to play well.
Yeah, keep them motivated, but it only lasts for so long. And I think Lacazette has ran out of gas. I think he knows that no matter how bad he plays, he won't get dropped, because he should have been dropped a while ago.
There's no plan B.
So there's no motivation for him to do well for us at this point, and it's unfortunate. And then you have Eddie, who's the next man up. He's in a very similar situation. He's younger.
Yeah, he's got his best years in front of him.
But he's out of contract as well. So it's like, damn, where do we go from here? We should have tinkered with it a little bit more when we were playing well, because we probably could have, even if it wasn't perfect, we could have seen what things were like and still kind of recovered.
Yeah.
Now we don't have any wiggle room to even see if Martinelli can play up top. There's nothing.
I think he can, to be fair, but it's just a knock-on effect. That it's a bit like what we said about XHAKA moving left back. By all means, I'm not necessarily against XHAKA playing left back, even though I don't agree with it. But if that's what the gaffer wants to do, it's cool. It's the knock-on effect in midfield. I feel when it comes to Lacazette, it's like with Aubameyang. If Aubameyang's scoring and you've got Lacazette ain't playing because Aubameyang's scoring. Lacazette, as you said, if he's not scoring, we get to hide behind work rate, pressing, general play. He's not bringing that, so he's almost a passenger. For me, he never gets into the box, and when he does, it's mediocre, to put it nicely. I feel the motivation's there. It's just like he's feeling sorry for himself, and we're just seeing the player regress evidently. And again, it's a bit sad, because normally you have players when their contract's running down kind of play out of their skin, and he's just getting worse and worse. And like you said, there's no backup plan. And I don't know if it's you, but it's in the last couple of things. I feel when it comes to our strikers, it's never a proactive thing to play Lacazette. We're just doing this because of what happened with Aubameyang. So we're in a dangerous scenario. It's like, God forbid Lacazette gets injured. It's what do you do? I know there's talk of Pepe false 9 and Martinelli. Martinelli's the next one up. For me, it's a dangerous scenario to have, really. And I feel
because we don't even have another way of play. That's what really scares me as well. It's like everything that we've built, that we've been excited about, has really been connected to the way that our center forward plays. And I've never really seen us just like, okay, well, we can't build up this way, so let's try to kick it long and just put pressure and run into the channels. I haven't seen us even try that. Yeah. And so again, we're in a situation where Arteta's system has been found out. He has players that aren't playing for him in the way that they probably should be. And we have no plan B. It's the exact same thing that happened last season. And personally, for me, I would drop the crap out of Lacazette. He has got to sit, and maybe that would be good for him so that there's less pressure on him. I would play Pepe and Martinelli and Saka up front in the next game.
I could get with that.
I would just do that. And I know people, who's going to hold up the ball? It doesn't matter, because we're not going to be building. We can't build up through the middle without Thomas Partey. Kick it over the top and let them run.
Exactly. Just put balls in behind and feed on the pace. That's what I thought we would have done against Brighton, because that's not a good defensive setup. I do think he underestimated Graham Potter, but when I saw Odegaard, Smith Rowe, even XHAKA, I could say, all right, cool. Maybe we'll double down. We're at home. We'll suffocate them in terms of possession and create a lot of chances. And that was my problem. Maybe Arteta gives them too much information. Maybe these young and naive players aren't quite ready to chop and change things, but we didn't do that. That's my problem. And like you mentioned, our build-up plays already, pardon my language, fucked already. entirely because we've got no centre mids. We've lost Tierney and Tomiyasu. That immediately kills how we play. And we already overcompensate with our centre halves and with Ben White and Gabriel because we don't have that number 8. So it kind of brings me back to what I was going to ask you about January. Would you say January was a big L then? Because that could have made or broken your season, whether it's down to Edu, Mikel Arteta or Kroenke. You know, we left that January period weaker. We're talking about striker. Maybe Ainsley Maitland-Niles plays left back and me and you never have this conversation about XHAKA being deployed there. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two issues here. One of them being that Arteta doesn't manage the gray areas of the squad very well. You're either in or you're out. There's no in between. And so we have players that could be really useful to us that you're either cold on the bench and then all of a sudden it's like, come play for me. It's like, well, you haven't played me, like, come on, you know? Right. And then there's players that we just said, go, get out. Ainsley Maitland-Niles is sitting on the bench at Roma. He could be useful to us in midfield and at left back and at right back now. And we got rid of him. And I know people will say, well, he wasn't good for us while he was here. Well, he wasn't good because, again, Arteta doesn't manage the gray areas well. If you're not perfect personality and you're not a Rob Holding type of guy that's just happy to be here, then he can't deal with you. Like, he literally cannot deal with you. And we don't have the same resources as a Manchester City. So you can't just sit these players down and never use them again because you don't have a Gundogan coming off the bench. You don't.
We've got nothing off the bench, really.
No. Yeah, he doesn't. He's just not getting it. But then that goes back to I'm super safe in my job, so it's okay for me to just not use Ainsley and send him off into Siberia. Now, with the January transfer window, we did make a mistake. And I know people don't want to hear that, but like this whole idea that anybody that we would have brought in wouldn't have had an impact is BS.
Or the right fit for the system.
Yeah, you look next door, and I don't think like Kulusevski and Bentancur were the exact players that Spurs wanted. But they still brought in quality players.
Facts.
And bolstered their squad. They're no longer playing Winks. They're no longer playing Lucas Moura, and they went up a level since then.
And they didn't let Bourgeois go for depth purposes, unlike us letting players go unnecessarily, whether they wanted to or not.
Exactly. So it's like weird to me that like I was hearing this whole like, well, we don't want another Denis Suarez. And I'm like, well, if we know what we're doing recruitment wise, we won't end up with another Denis Suarez. Like there's levels in between the perfect signing and Denis Suarez that we could have looked at, but we decided not to because I feel like we're arrogant. Like I really do. I feel like it's like we want the perfect player. Exactly. And it's like
our players fall for, our fans, fall for that sort of stuff. I think if you say enough things, our fan base is a bit weird. Very few fans actually think it's like you're either wallowing in negativity or you're celebrating save wages. Well, that's cool. We're saving wages, but you got to remember, like when we need goals, you can't do that and bring on this save wages. Aubameyang's wages aren't going to help us score goals. So I agree with what you're saying.
I mean, it's like, okay, so we didn't get anybody in January because we wanted to make sure we got the right players and that right player wasn't available to us. But because you didn't improve the squad and you were unwilling to compromise, we're going to finish in a position that's going to make it impossible for us to get that player anyway.
You're right.
You know, like what's the point? Like, doesn't make any sense. Sometimes you have to compromise. We're not in a position to be sitting there like it's okay not to. We had 17 games left. The idea that we were not going to get a single injury was just naive, psychotic. Man.
Very naive. We gambled on a lot. We gambled on Lacazette's form. I wouldn't even say Lacazette's form. I think we gambled on young players overperforming, and they've got us to the point. We gambled on no injuries. We tried to find benefit with the fact of by January we was only competing by default in the Premier League, and like these gambles don't pay off. It's almost like Arteta kind of said it in his press conference. He was like, he kind of replied a bit angrily to the depth question, and he was like, "Well, you didn't say that a few weeks ago," and that's exactly why. If it's raining,
we didn't have injuries a couple weeks ago.
This is it. This is it. You only care about your umbrella when it's raining, not when it's sunny. Like this is the naivety.
Like I personally I wasn't as concerned about striker as I was midfield because I knew that there was a chance that Thomas Partey would get injured. I just knew it. Like especially the way, that we were playing him. and the fact that he was going to have to go away with Ghana, and he's like their number one player, he's going to get a knock. And if he gets one, we can't play. Whose system is built in a way where if you don't have one player, it does not work. And that's the type of system that we have. No Thomas Partey, no system. And so I wanted us to just get a grown up, like somebody that, I don't know, sorry, we could have gotten Bruno Guimaraes. Sorry, like I'm not over it. Like I just, oh well, he wasn't high, the first person on our list. He was lower down.
Concerns about him.
I don't care. Like, are you serious? Like, come on. Like, if you have Bruno Guimaraes now, you could put him in midfield with XHAKA and still be alive. Like, it's crazy to me. But hey, like, we made our bed. Now we have to lie in it. And second season in a row where similar issues could just derail everything. And I do think that we need to look at like Arteta and his ability to maneuver around injuries, because it just doesn't seem like he has the ability to put the team in a situation where they feel comfortable enough to still play, because like they don't look comfortable.
It's like they know crazy. It. They feed off each other's fears. It's like what you said earlier. It's like Tavares. He's probably not as confident in himself. And now, don't get it twisted. Football's football. When your chance comes, you have to take it, whether you've played 2 games or 10. But he looks unconfident. Players look unconfident in him. It's a bit like earlier in the season with Pablo Mari. So I don't think we're pessimistic enough in that we're betting on these injuries and things like that, like you said. For me, it's more of a case of midfield. While like we need goals, and obviously we've spoken about Lacazette, I can accept that. But from the moment Mikel Arteta walked in, he's a midfielder. He's a Spanish midfielder, played at cultured clubs, been in cultured environments. I would have thought it was a formality that our midfield would be improved. Now he's a midfielder, and the one area of our team that looks a bit baffling is midfield. Strikers might win your games, defense wins your leagues, but it's your midfield battle. And I can understand strikers. Okay, cool. You kind of got to get that right. But our system should be a thing where, like when Chelsea had Lampard, you could see maybe they get a striker, they're a lot better. I don't understand what we're doing in midfield. Well, I do, but even with XHAKA and Partey, every year XHAKA wants to leave. Partey, again, as much as I love him and I support him, and it's sad that he got injured, I don't know if he's going to maintain that real purple patch and that upper echelons of form before he got injured. So we're betting on a lot. And as you said, the drop-off in quality is baffling. We need probably about 2 number 8s. Even go back to last season where there was this talk around changing the spine of our club, etc., etc. While I was happy with the signings and definitely the building blocks, how much of your spine can change if you don't revamp that midfield? Now, cool, if you don't want to revamp it, that's what you're betting on. So this is where I have the conversation. I said it earlier. I think we rely on Gabriel and Ben White too much in build-up play. You look at City's centre-halves, they're not on the ball as half as long as us because they can punch it into players. We've played a dangerous game, really and truly.
We have one midfielder. We literally have one midfielder, and he's injury prone. I love Thomas Partey so much, and this hurts me to say, like, but we can't rely upon him. And I think it's fine. Like, he's one of those types where I'm like, okay, if he's somebody that we can't play every single game, but that's the person that you can bring off of the bench or rotate, cool. But we can't rely upon him. So we need, like, I was sitting here thinking this the other day, and like, this is so sad that like, it's like 9 o'clock at night, and I'm just like thinking to myself, Arsenal need like 3 midfielders. Like, I just am thinking about it. I'm like, we need like 3 midfielders. Like, it's not even funny. Not even that. Like, we need at least 3. If XHAKA leaves, you need 3 midfielders, but we know we're not getting that many. You need a left back that can start. You need a right back that can start. Depending on what happens with Saliba, you may need a center back. And we still have not touched the attack.
Yeah, you might even need a winger if Pepe keeps it moving, where there's rumors he's leaving to Marseille, apparently.
And who knows where you're going to finish? Like, it's really like on the border of catastrophe, like, honestly. And I think I love the recruitment that we did, like you said. Like, I do think that we did a decent job with, I think Ben White, Ramsdale, and Odegaard were like slam dunks. Like, and Tomiyasu. Like, I think they were like slam dunks. They were good. But Nuno and Sambi, and then the decision not to bring in a midfielder, like a one that's ready to go,
I do think it's this midfield 100%.
Yeah, and this idea that we couldn't have brought in a striker unless we got rid of Lacazette, I think is just something that we tell ourselves, but is like total BS. Like, come on, you could have brought in a striker. You just were like, well, let's just bet on Lacazette. He's going to be okay. Like, yo, we need a lot this summer. And I don't think it's all going to get done, but that midfield needs surgery still. We need at least 2 midfielders, like at least.
You're not alone, man. I still retain faith in Lokonga, but it's almost like, you know, while he has to learn quickly, it's almost like we're not helping these players. As much as it's about tomorrow, we need players for now. And clearly Tavares and Lokonga at this moment are not necessarily players you can rely upon. That, you know, you've been asked a question by Gio. He said, what midfielders realistically would you like next season?
I would go for like, I like the midfielders that are kind of in that 25 million to 40 million range. I think they're a less of a risk, but there's a lot of quality out there. So, I mean, I would probably go after Aouar again. I know people don't want it, but I'm just like, he's just sitting there. Like, he's just sitting there. He played against West Ham. He did a really good job. So we know he can play against Premier League opposition. And he's just chilling. He would be perfect for that left 8, especially because, I mean, we probably need somebody a little bit more defensive, but you can still bring in that player. I think we still need to be looking at Basuma. I think some people don't want him, personally, but I still think you need to be looking at Basuma. I know we're linked to Ruben Neves. He's not my favorite, I have to be honest.
Why? Because I'm having him. I can't lie. He doesn't do anything amazing, but I'm having Ruben Neves. He's not my first.
I think that's what it is. It's like I'm trying to figure out like what is his superpower, like what is his best thing. And I know it's passing, but I'm like, is it really passing? Like, what is it? And so
he's just 5 out of 10 at everything.
Yeah, I'm not loving him, but it is what it is. If Tielemans is 25 million, I would consider that, knowing that we still need to get somebody more defensive. He's fine as long as he's not the defensive central midfielder. Like, he needs somebody strong next to him. But like, those are the midfielders that I'd look at. Aouar, Tielemans, but you also need a CDM. You need like in a Basuma type.
You don't think Lokonga with a year's experience could grow into that?
I don't. Okay, so here's the thing about like Lokonga and Nuno and Arteta in general. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if he's coaching these players up. I can't say that I can pinpoint a single player that I feel like he's improving. And I know that it's like him for sure. And I know people was like, oh, what do you mean? Like, of course. I'm like, are we sure these players weren't going to just become better on their own?
You don't think the Haaland lads have improved under Arteta?
I think they've played more games. I think they could be better. Like, I do think that they could be better. I don't know. It's a weird one for me. So because I'm not sure that Arteta has, because he's also under so much pressure all the time that I'm like, does he have time to really like coach these players up? Like Sambi, he's exposing him in midfield.
Like, hey, that's a good point, because we need 3 points and it's about the collective. You're right.
It's crazy to me. And like, he put Nuno in a position where he can't thrive. Like, it's weird. So
set him up to fail 100%.
Yeah, I think Arteta needs better players to get better results. And I think ultimately that's why he's gotten better results, is because the players that he's gotten have been better. So I don't know.
Where do you stand on that? Sorry to cut you, but where do you stand on that? Because I mean, I agree in general, but it's like he has spent money and it just feels like he always needs to buy something that's going to be another part of something. So where are you at with that whole, surely a whole point of playing at Arsenal is about getting the best out of these young players, whether you've personally handpicked them or someone like Tavares, where, you know, it's a scouting job. It's crazy, man.
I guess because with Arteta, like, we were told that like his best thing was working with young players. I think I expected something different with him. And so I'm a little, and this is also because emotionally I'm pissed off at him right now. So I may be a little bit more harsh than I would be otherwise, but I'm just like, I think he needs a city-like environment to be successful. That's what I'm thinking.
It needs to be a spoiled kid, basically, with every.
Yeah, like I think we need more of a Klopp type manager that can kind of get the most out of the group that he has. But we have more of a city type manager, somebody who burns resources. Like Pep does this to a lot of players and people don't notice it. They just go missing for a while. They just don't play. But it doesn't matter because he has so many good world-class players to his disposal. He could just throw them away. Arteta's doing that at Arsenal. And I just expected him to get a young group and really coach them up. And I thought he would relish in having a Sambi and a Nuno, players that he could make into whatever he wanted them to be. And I don't know if it's because he's under so much pressure right now that he doesn't have like time and he just freaks out and just panics. But I just don't really see that kind of growth from our players that I felt like I would expect. So I don't want to see any more project players come in this summer. We need players ready to go because that's all he can work with.
I hear you on that, man. I mean, I'm all for these youth players. I guess my last question would be, obviously, you know, we've got 2 back-to-back losses. You mentioned it earlier. We go to St. Mary's. What's your feelings like on the Southampton game? Are you confident? You know, what's your starting 11? What's your thoughts going into it? Because we have to react on Saturday.
Confident? Surely. Like, wow. Like, okay. If you ask me right now if I think we're going to win, I would say no.
I can't blame you for thinking that.
I just can't see it. Like, and this is how I felt after the Everton game. Like I did when we played Everton and we lost.
And we lost
to Man United as well. I thought, here we go. It's going to be a long bad run. But it stopped because we played Southampton next at home. So, but at the same time, we have like missing players as well. Like we had gotten Tierney back against Everton. I think we got XHAKA back against Everton as well. And we had Thomas Partey and they started to play well. We haven't found the solution to not having those players yet. So, and I just have this weird feeling that Arteta is going to double down. I just have this weird feeling he's going to do it. And then we have
go to a back 3.
No, I don't think he's going to change the system. If I have to, I think we'll see the exact same lineup. That's what I think.
XHAKA left back to confirm.
Yeah. But what I would do if it was me, I would play Ben White right back with Holding and Gabriel and Nuno at left back with Elneny and XHAKA in midfield, Odegaard in front of them, and Saka, Pepe, and Martinelli. That's what I would do. I would try to get as many grown-ups in the back to compensate for Nuno. I would not play Sambi and Nuno. It's too much. Like they're both under too much pressure to play in those positions. And that's where a lot of our buildup happens at left back and central midfield. You can't have that. And then do something different up front that Hasenhüttl hasn't seen before. Everybody's seen Lacazette, Martinelli, and Saka. They know what it's going to be. Yeah, they know. And we're not seeing the best of Odegaard right now either. Like he's the only player that we have that has the vision to find these players in space and to thread balls in behind. And so that's what I would do. Our ball progression is next to nothing. It's going to be the same. Exactly. It's going to be the same whether it's Lokonga or Elneny because Lokonga is so green. Even when he gets on the ball, he passes it backwards. Yeah. So just put Elneny there to do that shit. Like he's going to do that. But at least he's a grown-up and he's not going to just get bumped off the ball every 5 seconds. Like, you know what I mean? And then have 2
You get a 5 out of 10 performance minimum. Facts.
Yeah. So it's just that I think that's where I am like at the moment, like do something different. And I know that he's been coaching the team to do something specific, but we've been sussed. We need to do something else. And if you get balls into the box, Martinelli will get them. Southampton is woeful defensively. They're not good defensively. So I just think you get like Pepe in the box, you get Martinelli in the box, and you just hope that you're better goal scorers, which I think they are better goal scorers than Lacazette. Get them into good positions and let them cook. Like, I think that's what I would do. What's the worst that can happen? Like, I'm not watching another Lacazette walking around like testimonial. Like I'm not watching that again.
Like, I can't lie. For me, I'd probably switch to a back three. On one hand, there shouldn't be a need to. Like someone said, Southampton are a bit of a wounded animal. We all know when a team plays Arsenal, they could lose 7-0. They'll play like Barcelona the next week. So I do think we should try and ask questions. But for me, I've not been happy with us defensively. And I do think there was a time we got a bit more confidence in an attacking sense going away from home with a back three. Personally, if we're going with a back four, Saka has to do that for me, so XHAKA stays. But I'm probably switching to a back three. I'm probably going with either Tavares or Saka at left back. Cedric will play in the middle, will play right back. Centre halves, the two normal centre halves, and Rob Holding. I'll probably get El Nene and XHAKA in the middle. For that purposes, you know what? I'd probably gamble with that. I'd gamble a bit more with Martinelli playing through the middle. But I could understand if he plays Saka. It's just, Lacazette. It's just, I just feel we haven't got any confidence defensively, and I feel I would go with your back four. I just think we lose a lot with Ben White coming out of going to right back and leaving central defense, especially away from home. And Tavares, I just don't trust you away from home. Unless it's a back three, you're not the guy for me right now, if I'm completely honest. I think you've shown me against Nottingham Forest, against Crystal Palace. You weren't the worst at Old Trafford. You actually played all right, but you made a mistake. And obviously at Liverpool, I just can't really trust him. But I wouldn't mind him in the wing-back role because that keeps Saka. So, yeah, it is what it is. I guess final question before I let you head off. What would your prediction be for Southampton then? Because you said you weren't confident at all.
I mean, I would love to be like, oh, they're in bad form. Look at that. They just got killed by Chelsea. But if I'm Hasenhüttl, I'm like, cool. We got Arsenal coming up. If you want to rehabilitate your season, that is the team that you want to see coming.
Exactly.
It's so bad. I don't want to predict a loss. I wouldn't be surprised.
Nah, speak your truth, man. It's, you can predict what the hell you like.
But I think I'm going to go like 1-1 or something like that. Like, I don't think we'll get out with all 3 points. That's what I'll say.
I'm screaming 2-1, man. It's got to stop. 3 L's in a row. I mean, I think we was there at some point last season. It's got to stop now, man. It's got
like, it really is painful, especially because top 4 felt so doable, and now it feels 2 games later almost impossible. So that's really hard for the fan base to take. And the players have to realize that what we were looking for against Brighton was not what they offered us. I know that the Emirates was like quiet and it was eerie, and that's because we're nervous. Like, the fans are traumatized.
To be confident.
Yeah, we're traumatized. So, like, had they just ran a little bit, I mean, I was shocked to watch ESR and Odegaard walk on that first goal. They were just walking.
But that's where I'm at Arteta, because their instincts are not to smell danger. Like, for me, what was more annoying than XHAKA being caught out of position, Tossa, like, there's about 4 Brighton players queuing up on that ride to score a goal against us, and nobody has smelt that danger. Now, our team has to understand defensively to do better. Smith Rowe and Odegaard, we always waffle about their pressing and stuff, but that's where Arteta is playing people who are not street smart. Maybe if El Nene's there, who that's your job sort of thing, you might sniff that danger and do something. It's a bit like we almost conceded 2 very identical goals from that left-hand side in last week. So I don't know, man. I'm screaming 2-1. You got any content to come out this week or today or in general? Let them know they can find you as well.
Yeah, in about, let's say, an hour or so, I'll be doing a show on my channel, She Knows Arsenal, basically asking, is the season over? Do a little bit of discussion around that, a little bit of Q&A. So if you guys want to come over there, YouTube, She Knows Arsenal, I'll be there in about an hour.
You know where to head it, people. When this comes out, obviously her @ is going to be on YouTube, so make sure you hit that up. I'm going to stay, but I'm going to let her get out of here because I know she's pressed for time. Thank you very much for giving up part of your time. 3-4 minutes off what I said. I said 5:15. It's 5:19.
This is perfect. Thank you. Thank you for thinking about my time. I really appreciate it. And thanks to everybody that's watching. And yeah, enjoy the rest of the show.
Come on. Appreciate you for tuning in. Like she said, hit her up on YouTube. And yeah,
bye.
Peace, Jess, man. Peace out. So yeah, people. Nah, it's just my ugly face. You get me? But on that note, though, yeah, man, it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same thing, people. I can't lie. Get your questions and all of them things in. I've got an alert on what's this thing called again? Ring. Someone's at my door. One sec, people. Keep getting your questions in. Nah, I want to see same energy. What's all this? Another day, another Amazon package. But yeah, back again, people. Now, obviously, yeah, man. Obviously, what Jess was saying was 100% facts. Really, we're gonna have to, hit back. Fish was a bit harsh on the young G's then, but he's calm. What are you lot saying? Obviously, we've been linked with Darwin NUNEZ. I'm gonna get into that, people. Yeah, let's carry on. Don't forget 7:30 Twitch and YouTube, people. Go and hit up the YouTube and hit the like buttons. But we'll be on Twitch. It's Champions League business between Real Madrid and Chelsea. Don't forget as well. Hey, Mod, you let me down, man. Make sure you lot post Jesse's YouTube in the comments. I'm gonna go and find it myself and deal up that, because as she said, in an hour she's gonna be chatting about Arsenal on YouTube. Make sure you hit up that one. She knows Arsenal. There we have it. Go and boost up the subscribers as well, people, man. She's at 7.4. Go and get that to 8 or something like that, man. So, yeah, what are you lot saying? Obviously, we're still early on in the week in terms of Southampton and all those things. Let's look at what's going on in terms of current talking points in the world of Arsenal. One, let me actually type Arsenal in on Google once again, because obviously you don't want to miss out on anything that could be of benefit. Gabriel swap deal. Oh, what is? I lie then. You never. Hey, if you lot on that, I'm gonna get vexed. Can't lie to you. But yeah, that's that and that. Obviously, we've been. Who would you bring in left back and right back? Right back's a techie one. It's a techie one. Left back, I'm screaming Guerrero. We should have bought him when he was at Lorient. How about Saka left back, Gabby and Holding, then Ben White at the back? Do you know what it is? I just don't want to it's not wrong. Like, we should be in a reality where we can do little things like that. Like I said, I actually don't mind us trying that midfield trio that we saw against Brighton. Obviously, right now, Smith Rowe, Odegaard, they're not really ready to do the 8, the football intelligence and the experience. All them things there aren't really there. And that's kind of my reason for why I don't want to kind of fuck about with the fullback regions, because Ben White has played right back a lot, and obviously Tavares is a left back, but I just feel away from home. As I said, we don't have that 8 that gets onto the ball and dribbles and buys us a couple meters up the field. We don't have that guy that's going to spray passes. We know we've got Martinelli, Saka, Smith Rowe. These guys can drive with a ball, but we ain't got that hold up, man. Lacazette ain't been doing that. So my point kind of is Ben White's one of the only guys in the team that's consistently on the ball. As I said, with our centre backs, because we ain't got that. I could be wrong, but there was 2 games Ben White went over. But it might have been Southampton where he moved over to right back and we lost what he can give us in terms of bringing it out from the back and stuff. And we've already not got our first choice midfield. Sorry, maybe with XHAKA going back in there, then we don't really need this. But I just feel we're not really ready to do them sort of things there. Like, I'm by no means Cedric's biggest fan, but I'd be more comfortable to see Ben White at centre half in his usual position at Arsenal, Cedric to play against his old club, and then maybe chance of Tavares, really. I'm screaming Saka left back, really, man. I know we lose a lot, but the goal is to keep, before we talk about scoring, you've got to keep balls in, you've got to keep balls out the back of your net, really. So I'm with it. I think El Nene, again, you're asking a lot. El Nene's barely played. He's probably rusty in that. But for me, this is where you come in. This is your thing, man. Odegaard, not the ball progressor we thought. I think he is, but the system's a mess, bro. Like, we tried to keep him on the right-hand side because that's his thing, and then probably relied on Smith Rowe being this 8.5 hybrid 10 thing, driving with the ball. And then obviously Lokonga was the seatbelt, but in reality, it was doomed to fail. We're poor in the transition anyways. So when you've chopped and changed and messed about, we're going to be in problems, really. This is why I'm saying that I like that Arteta is trying these things, and I hope the players are learning these lessons and all these sort of things about it, but they're not ready for them sort of things there. They don't, but all of these, you can't go through our whole squad. Like, you look at City, right? Kevin, Gundogan, all of these players have been there, done that. If they ain't been there and done that in terms of accolades, they've got significant experience. Grealish has played in a deep line, in a deep line role. He's played he's played on the left. He's played in a 10. Gundogan, Kevin, all these other guys, they've done all of that stuff. Smith Rowe hasn't locked down being a 10 or being a wide playmaker or being an 8. Odegaard ain't locked down his thing. Lokonga's not locked down the 6 or the 8. So it's like, when you lot are still learning, how can we then flip it and then give you individual different roles, as you saw with those 3 midfielders? And as you know, everybody's individual role ties into the collective. So you lot barely understand your role, let alone you don't understand when Lokonga's got the ball, I got to do this or I got to do that if Smith Rowe's there. So we're kind of collapsing. Are we overestimating the intelligence of these players in the nicest way? I don't know, man. I see what you're saying about the transition, DJ. I'm just frustrated. Nah, it's true, man. It's true. It's true. I don't disagree. Regardless of what we do, we ain't got our first choice fullbacks in it. And again, for me, it comes back to last summer, bro. Like, we needed an 8. Like, you lot can go back. They won't be on Twitch now, but go on YouTube. It's not to get at XHAKA. I don't think XHAKA's a terrible baller, but it's like we're bringing in, new defenders and doing the back 5 thing. We got Odegaard and we're seeing it. It's like we buckled at a chance to get that number 8. I think if you've got that 8, we're a better team. We're breaking down low blocks. You might have seen before Odegaard's obviously fallen off the ball, you might have seen that Odegaard or that Thomas Partey sooner, For me, I would just like to see Saka, Martinelli, or even Odegaard higher up the field. You don't see that too often. You see it in the highlights and that. You don't see it enough. I want us to play. We don't play enough through central areas and we don't have different options, Obviously, players are young, they're learning, all that sort of stuff. But we need to get into a scenario where you can play 2 8s, 2 6s, 3 10s, just different things according to the game. If we're playing a low block, I would love to get in a scenario where we're so good, everybody, whether they're a 6 or whatever, can defend anyways. So we can take the handbrakes off. We can play 3 8s and fly forward and do these things, but we're not street smart enough. And that games like Brighton, you saw street smartness, and for nobody talks about it, but the Brighton game, Brighton protected that Calcedo brother quite a lot. That was his first Premier League start. I feel you never saw him look like that. So Basuma, all them Brighton guys, they got them through it. Anytime we buck a street smart manager or a street smart team, people that understand ball, they kind of know the thing. And I think Arteta always screams and shouts about we've got the younger team and all of this, and that's true. But there's certain things we're going to be disadvantaged with. Like I said, the one thing that annoyed me about the Brighton goal is there's about 4 Brighton shirts queuing up on the edge of our area where Tossart scored. Someone else might have. It's not really on Arteta for you lot to sniff that danger, to smell that, A big part of defending is being proactive, Yeah, a great slide tackle, last-ditch tackle, all these things are amazing. But for me, the more glamorous thing is someone that's seen that situation happen before and put out the fire before it's even become a danger versus the house is burning and my man's just jumped in there and done a courageous thing. I don't know. Yeah, it is what it is where that one's concerned. What was I gonna say here? What was I gonna call this? Systemic issues. And that's the thing. Like, balance is so. Arteta unbalanced it. We're a very elementary level squad. So the minute we hang on to balance, this is why depth is so important, because you see the fallout. It was naive to think everybody's fit, and there's too much. It's a bit like, to a degree, Liverpool, in that Liverpool's issue at a time became they needed depth, but it needed to be the quality of depth. Respectfully, there was a while where they would bring in some players that are not levels. Now you see Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, Diaz has come in, Jota's been bought, Kanate. There's a couple defensive options. I think Liverpool's are more. I would rather play like City, but I think Liverpool, or what Liverpool did, is more appropriate to Arsenal because they've got a smaller squad. They've historically kept everybody fit after their first year. Nobody really looks fatigued, and that. I think that's something to look at. And the depth, like the fallout. Okay, on one hand, Lokonga, Tavares, these men are young. It is what it is. We've bought them. They have to play. But at the same time, there's a fallout. And at this point in the season, we don't really, Tavares and these guys will learn their lessons in the future, but it's costing us 3 points, and that's what we signed up for. These young players have to learn. Defenders are going to do dumb shit, which they've all done. Even Ramsdale's done silly things. Strikers, if they get a chance, are not going to take them opportunities. And we signed up for a lot of things when we did this young squad thing. More so for that, I think we signed up for a lot of problems when we pissed around with what's going on up front, and we've not brought in the number 8. And once again, as I said when Jess was here, bro, like the one position for me that I would think there'd be clarity over is midfield. Mikel Arteta was a midfielder. You was a midfielder for this club. You've been involved at City. You've been at PSG. You're a Spanish midfielder. Like, you can't build what you're trying. What I see you trying to do, you can't do it. And you've chosen to rely on certain players this season. You have said if something happens, I believe in Lacazette and Eddie Nketiah. I believe in XHAKA, and it's to the point where for me, the midfield doesn't tick without XHAKA. Generally, that is a problem for Arsenal's midfield because, respectfully to XHAKA, like I said, I don't think he's as bad as people make out. But bro, unless you're like a world-class player, the system should be there. We rely on duds, really, respectfully to Saka. I mean to XHAKA, sorry. Saka is definitely not. Must think his name's Hudson Odoi or something. It's crazy. Very like big up C as well. Very naive to think this squad, this 11, sorry, would be able to make it from Jan to May. Exactly, and it's. Do you know what the wickedest thing for me is? Yeah, with the exception of Tomiyasu, of all these players have collapsed when they've gone off to international duty. Like we know, Tini's been playing with an injury. He went to Scotland and madness happened. Clearly, Partey was feeling a bit of fatigue anyways and went off to Ghana, got collapsed. You know. Saka went and got COVID, and yeah, people can do what they want to do about Saka, but it probably took a lot out of him physically. Odegaard, whenever there's international break, I don't know what potions they're giving him in Norway, but he drops off. You know, it's brazy and just at the wrong part. And then Arteta's doing the mad scientist thing at the wrong part of the season. Like every other point of the season, you would have just thrown in El Nene against Brighton, but at the most crucial period, you've chosen to do a mad thing, really. Like it's crazy, man. But it's all in the day in life of an Arsenal fan, I guess, man. What are you gonna do about it? You can't do anything, really, can you? Like we just have to react against Southampton and it's show and prove. You know, the players waffled about it. Now it's time for them to show and prove it. But let's look at what's going on in terms of Arsenal in the transfer window. Like we've spoken about at 10 a.m. We spoke about 11:30. Same, my birthday tomorrow. We're going to be at 10. We're going to be at 11:30. And then we're going to be here at 7:30 to watch the Champions League, better yet. But Darwin Núñez, man, now, yeah, man, you know, apparently Barcelona swap deal. They want Gabriel, so they want to pattern a swap deal. And allegedly Darwin Núñez prefers an Arsenal switch over everything. Allegedly, now you got to take the credibility of the newspaper. Arsenal's name is used for interest, and we did hear West Ham came close to grabbing him, but that Chelsea man with a pinch of salt. The hell is this? Sorry, folks, this ain't actually this. Is this it? Sorry, let me actually. I think they've done the Dandeli thing on, man. Here it is. Oh shit. Oh, it's the same article, people. So like that. As you can see here, apparently Darwin Núñez prefers a move to Arsenal, Liverpool, Spurs over Manchester United. The camp also do not see Man City. I don't know why not Man United. Maybe Cavani's put them against him. I don't know, people. But yeah, I could understand Liverpool. Don't know if you're going to start there, but Klopp with Kane, Arsenal, not just because I'm an Arsenal fan, you know, which we might not necessarily demand goals of you like certain other players, and you know, there's going to be no one. Your competition is Balogun. Balogun probably goes out on loan next season or whatever, you know. If it's not that, it's a Martinelli thing. So let's see. I really wish we have two strikers. So it is the right article. Scroll all the way down. Listen, one love to his life story and how he's progressed, but we only care about the other thing. Yeah, man grew up and did a Mazza, you know, shout out to him, and he's overcome adversity. We've all got a sub story, respectfully. Man, and like you, I just want to know where this man is going, really. You know, apparently Arsenal to sell Pepe for just 25 million in the summer. Let's look at that. We already know about this. Where will he go? The Scum Sports understands that despite Pep Guardiola's Manchester City admiring, sorry, let's start again. I need my glasses and we need to zoom in. Scum Sports understands that despite admiring Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, Núñez and his camp do not see it as a perfect fit. Why? It must be the easiest place to score goals. In their eyes, he needs space to run, a physical side of play, and a guarantee of minutes. With Liverpool, Tottenham, and Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham, all preferable locations. I don't. Maybe they'll go with two up front or somehow get Núñez, Kane, and my man in. And in reality, Kane drops quite deep. Son occupies the wide area, so he would have the freedom of the city. Arsenal, we'd have a striker in it, bloody hell. So yeah, people, they prefer Liverpool, Arsenal, Tottenham. come on, man. These lot are just, his club are just, I think he goes anywhere. No club is going to come out and say their plans. All of these clubs, you can argue, need a forward. I think he entertains all offers, man. Again, it is what it is. Pardon me. The manager, who's not in charge of stuff, he said they want kind of the same fee with João Felix. Now, Benfica won't be stupid. Benfica are willing to part for around 65 million, and I think they want that now for him as well. So, yeah, man, it is what it is with Darwin Núñez, which, again, that's that. We spoke. Flop Nicolas Pepe for as little as 25 million this summer. Be lucky to get that, and it's just about right, people. You're clearly not in Arteta's plans. He's been linked with Marseille today. This Italian publications claim that we'll accept a cut price fee for the man contracted until 2024. Same level of length of contract as Saliba, Saka, and Martinelli. 3 men that are rumored to get new deals or be in line for that. So, yeah, and we already know he spoke of the language barrier that might be an issue for him. But, yeah, it is what it is, people. With that, carrying on all of that sort of stuff, Barcelona and Arsenal held talks over swap deal for Gabriel. I think Gabriel will leave Arsenal soon. Not now, though. With Spanish giants still hoping to use Memphis to pay Neto and Ricky Puig as bait. Shut up, man. Get the fuck out of here. We just finally patterned the defense, and the total spend, I don't know, comes up to whatever on Tierney, Tomiyasu, Ben White, and Gabriel, and we're going to mess it up. Yeah, Saliba's coming, but I'd rather just a fee, man. I'm not against the pay. Ricky Puig, well, it's time's done, innit? Go somewhere and show that you're 30. Away from that, that's dead. Which might be why we believe this. Edu might be silly enough to fall for this, but Barcelona and Arsenal have reportedly held talks about Brazilian centre-back Gabriel. There's also rumours he's in line for a new deal, and a swap deal of sorts is on the table too. One publication said we're looking at Umtiti, and the basis of these rumours have come because Barcelona allegedly are looking for a left-sided central defender. Umtiti and Linette's days are numbered, people. The report details that, again, they're looking to let them go. They've obviously just brought in Garcia. They're bringing in Christensen. They've got Araujo. PK's not going to be around forever, but he's there. So how much? Barcelona's Barcelona. Champions League, link up with Aubameyang. If Barca asks for you, you're going. But how much game time, respectfully, are you going to get, really? I don't know if there's any truth in this, but yeah, man, Gabriel's been linked with them, innit? So make of that what you will. I don't know for all that Ricky Puig stuff, Osman Dembele is welcome, though. We can talk, which probably isn't going to happen. But yeah, man, it is what it is. So yeah, that's where the rumors are concerned. People, I would say, let's just make this one timestamp, innit? Really, what would that be, like 103? No, but yeah, man. Man said, I swear this Neto brother is Edu's boyfriend or something. My guy's always linked with Arsenal. We ain't want this Darwin Núñez brother anyways. If he comes Arsenal, probably treating us like Dortmund step. But trust, like you said, I ain't complaining, bro. That's where we've got to use that to our advantage more time. If we had the 3 players that we lost through this manager, we'd be in top 4. Oba, Gabriel, Guendouzi, and Saliba. I don't know. I would say maybe Aubameyang for the goals, but I don't know with Saliba and Guendouzi. There'd be 2 welcome additions. Guendouzi would definitely add something, but they're hardly game changers at this moment in time. We'd probably still be doing BS, really. I don't think Guendouzi or Saliba, for me, help us claim points against Burnley. I think they both would have been part of the stoop because they can't change it alone. They would have been part of the stupid points dropped at Man United and obviously Everton. And to be fair with you, Saliba's doing well and Guendouzi's doing well. But when you look at Marseille, they can see some very stupid goals. They're a very dramatic side, a bit like Arsenal as well. So I don't think that's necessarily the truth. But, they could... Historically, Saliba could hardly have done worse than when Mustafi, Marie, and these guys are given chances. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I do think, especially with what's going on in midfield and XHAKA going to left back, I believe in Lokonga, and him and Guendouzi are 2 different players, but Guendouzi's more experienced. He's more with it right now. Like, he's not feeling safe for himself, Lokonga and Tavares are having tough introductions. So I do think at this moment in time, with what's happening, you're right. Guendouzi wouldn't say made the difference, but we'd have a decent option. And all of these players wanted to leave. At the end of the day, we don't want unhappy players. I'm not with it. I'm not with keeping unhappy players, but it's the knock-on effect, innit? Like, We didn't really, you could do with a Torreira or a Guendouzi, Maitland-Niles, even just to play midfield for 2 games this season, or actually left back. We could have done with, obviously, Aubameyang. Maybe if Aubameyang was fit and in form, maybe the hardline approach would have been done a bit better, because there is going to come a time where there's going to be a manager and a player at crossroads here, and it's not going to be a past it alleged Mesut Ozil who unbalances the side, or an Aubameyang for whatever reason. It might just be someone who right now is doing the bits. So we'll have to see what happens in that regards, man. We really, really will. Yeah, man, it is what it is. I'd sell Nelly for more Smith Rowe, Saka for more Smith Rowe minutes. You're getting mad. All of them can stay. You're getting mad. You've lost it. It's like a parent with children. You can't love one child more than the other. Smith Rowe, Saka, Martinelli. I've accepted him. Well, the 2 British lads might leave, but I've accepted you're gone, in it. Like, you will go to the big boy teams, man. Apparently, Benfica valued Darwin Nunez at 80 million euros. 80 million euro. That's what Fabrizio Romano has said in pounds. How much is that? 66 million. Which I think is about fair, but I don't know who we're trying to get in midfield. I don't know. 150 million, I don't think he's going to stretch far this summer, depending on the targets. It might do, but I think you need to get a Darwin Nunez and a household midfield name, or the guys we've been linked with, and then you've probably got to find depth options. And how much how much is a striker going to cost? A striker that can give us what we want or what we think we can get. How much is a midfielder that's going to... all the guys we're linked with are contracted until 2023, but that's about... the cheapest is about, let's say, 30 to 60 million based on all the guys we've been linked with. So you're already looking at probably 90 on 2 players. Now, I don't think we're going to get 4 players in 2 in the same situations, but I think you need 2 strikers, like a Jonathan David and a Nunez. Jonathan David is going to cost something. I'd say you get a number 8, and in the same vein of Lokonga, you get someone that can also do that. First choice left back, I'd say what you're looking at about 30, 40 million euros on that. A backup right back, but when I say backup, I more mean rotation options at left and right back, guys that can fight these man for opportunities. Even though Tomiyasu's done well, guys that can fight these man. If it came to it, I'd rather... Now, I must admit, I'm kind of flipping. I'm more on bringing in a left back than a backup right back, just because I feel if Saliba comes back next season with a bit more maturity in the whole squad, we can get away with Ben White going over there like for Brighton and things. So, and with Tierney, he's amazing, but when he's injured, he's irrelevant, innit? And we need to get to a point where there's not too much of a drop off in quality through injuries, and actually that we can rotate without injuries, and decrease the burden and the workload on several players, really. But it's going to take a lot, man. Bro, I've been screaming Guerrero, bro. I've wanted him from his Lorient days. And like you said, you're a real guy because he can play midfield, and Arteta would love that, really. I'm sure Cedric Suarez can give him a good character reference, and we should have bought him from his Lorient days. Really. Only comes if we get chance. I reckon we could do it without it, but you got to give man the bag. And that's the reality of it, really. I don't know, though. And that's the thing, man. Can you find someone that, bro? Tariq Mitchell would have been good. Bro, he's getting his hype now. Arsenal fans, he's been playing well for us for time. This is where, as much as I love the Sakas, the Smith Rowes coming from the academy, you kind of wish we could get a little Kyle Walker-Peters or a Mitchell, someone that ain't amazing, but they can just do a job. To be fair, though, he's quite basic and he's not ready, but that Waters brother, he's doing quite well at Arsenal. In a few years, he might be that steady Eddie to come true. I don't know, man. Mitchell would be decent for the squad. Like I said, that's better than... it's probably a more viable option than Tavares right now. Like, Tavares, I back him, but he might be one that we either loan out, we give him a chance, or you loan him out, or you nip that. I'll be real, you nip that one in the bud. Like, you nip that in the bud quickly. Like, how much did Tavares cost? You can get your money back on that. You nip that one in the bud, just accept that it's an L and keep it moving. Because right now, apart from being an option off the bench, like if we're chasing the game, not really with this Tavares thing, really. Like, how much did we buy him for? He joins Arsenal. And said Wan-Bissaka, I want footballers, not breakdancers, man. 8 mil, even by Arsenal standards, Benfica robbed us slightly, but must be able to do a thing, man. Nuno is a talented young player who was wanted by a number of clubs across Europe. He will provide strong backup in the left-back position. We look forward to him growing and developing with us and becoming an important member of the first team squad. We welcomed Arteta. That was Edu. Arteta said when he arrived, we welcome Nuno to the club. He's a young player with great promise who has developed really well with Benfica in recent seasons and has also shown his quality by being a big part of Portugal's under-21s. Nuno's arrival will give the squad extra strength and options in defence, particularly with this energy on the left-hand side of the pitch. We look forward to Nuno's arrival soon, his integration into the Arsenal family and playing in front of our fantastic supporters. Crazy, man. I like Waters. Bit basic, but I like him, man. I see why he's playing for England and that, and he might be the steady Eddie. Like, obviously, let's let man do his thing, and there's a lot, but I do like Sosa, and I do like him. And to go with Brook Norton Coffee, like, I think we could do a thing slightly, Lord. These guys can make peace for the club. So it's one of them ones. Don't forget, people, 7:30, I'm gonna be live again. You know the thing. Come on. You know, we're watching Champions League, Real Madrid versus Chelsea business. Come on. So, yeah, on that note, though, I'm going to leave you lot. You know, I'm going to go and pattern some food, set up the graphics and all those sort of things, and I'll be back. Don't forget, people, 7:30, but tomorrow, 10 a.m., 11:30, and 7:30. You know, even working on my birthday for you lot, man. It is what it is. And he coming tomorrow, DG check mail. I'm going to buy that for myself now still, because you see, once it's midnight, yeah, man. After that gap between 11:30 and 7:30, might even play Football Manager, but that gap, I'm going to be living like a king. So yeah, man, big up you lot as usual, Twitch gang. It's lovely to sit here and be here with you lot, man. Obviously, we're meant to have 4 live streams today. Graham flopped it, so it's just you've had me at 10 a.m., me at 11:30. You know, obviously, shout out to Jess. Make sure you're following her on YouTube and that she was here. And the last one of the day will be Champions League business, man, where Arsenal's one thing, but we're tired of that now, man. We're tired of that now. So, yeah, you lot stay safe, stay blessed. I'll link up with you lot in about an hour and 15 minutes, man. It is what it is. On that note, people, God bless you lot. Thank you for always supporting the thing. I'm out.
You always just that active red man. I think it's like